DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And we put all this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show, one daily masterclass that we call Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic, you drive. Today's topic is you drive. In other words, we are talking about why in life you have to take the steering wheel. In life, you have to take control over what you're doing, over your destiny, over where you're going, over who you're spending time with, over everything that you have going on. Because when you don't, every now and then, hey, maybe many times you'll get lucky and things will work out in your favor anyway, even though you're not taking the steering wheel in your own life and in your own situations. But also at the same time, many times, I think more often than not, depending on your personality, your outlook, you're going to end up in situations that you don't really want to be in. And it's not because somebody else is maliciously trying to hurt you or sabotage you, just because you failed to take control of your own situation. And what got me thinking about this was specifically a situation in my recent trip. I'm in Tbilisi, Georgia, and I'm with my significant other, Anna. And she says, well, you know what we should do on one particular day. She was saying she had a friend out there who was going to drive us out to see some sites that was a little bit outside of the city. And I was asking her, and she was kind of selling me on the idea and just telling me, hey, it's going to be, we can go see some sites, and there's some religious places we can go look at, and some other things in between, and then we'll stop and we'll get something to eat, and we'll just make a day trip out of this excursion. And listen, I'm not from the country. I'm not from that country. I don't speak the language. Her friend doesn't speak English, so it's not like I could talk to her friend and ask her where exactly we're going to go, what we're going to do. And I'm just kind of going with the flow. So I'm like, all right, let's go and do this thing, whatever it happens to be. So this particular day, we get in this friend's car. We go and we're driving out. The ride was about 2 hours long. All right, we take this 2-hour ride. And some of you might have, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that post where you see me sitting in the backseat of a car and I'm asleep. And I made a whole post about that. It was from that particular day. So I'm asleep, and I don't know if that was going in or coming back, but either way, it was a 2-hour ride. So I'm falling asleep in the car. But anyway, we get out to our destination. This was the crown jewel of this whole trip. Was our first stop on the trip, and the first stop was at this church. Now, this church was a very beautiful church. The outside of it, the grounds of the church were really nice, perfectly manicured lawns. The buildings were amazing. The views were crazy because it was like this country, Georgia, there are a lot of hills and mountainous regions. So you go up and you get to certain elevations and you can look out and the views are incredible. So it was great views. And then there's like a bigger church where there was like a baptism happening, and you got all these things on the walls that you can look at and things that you can kind of sneak and take pictures of. They usually have signs outside of all the churches in Georgia that they ask you to not take pictures, or they say no picture taking is allowed, because I don't know exactly what the reasoning for it is, but I mean, it's a place of worship, so I understand. And also, one thing that I didn't know before I got out there, I might have been told, but I wasn't paying attention until I got out there, is that Georgia is a very strongly, and I've had actually friends in the United States who know the country tell me this, that they are, I believe it's Catholic Christian, or I think that's correct. Don't quote me on that. But very strong in their religion. Religion is a really, really strong, really big thing out there. So anyway, we had been to a church before, a few days before, and it was fine. It was pretty small, but it was a nice place, nice things to look at, very visually appealing. But we get to this other church, and there's a big one where the baptism is happening. Then there was a smaller one, and the stuff in there was really, really great. And I took probably, who knows, 20,000 photos and story posts while I was out in Georgia, but I didn't get any pictures inside of the church because, first of all, there's a sign that says don't take pictures, but I was violating that and taking pictures inside the churches. I think we went to 3 different churches while we were there. I was taking pictures anyway, but this particular one that we drove 2 hours for, it was so small that I couldn't have pulled my phone out without somebody noticing. And the fact that I'm this tall black guy standing in a room full of fair-skinned individuals, I know a lot of eyeballs were on me. So there's no way I could have did it without somebody noticing. So I wasn't able to take pictures in this smaller one. And that was probably the best thing that I didn't get a picture of the entire time that I was there. They even had a mausoleum in there. There was even a tomb in there. I don't know if I would have took a picture of that, but I would have taken pictures in the other parts of the church. But it was so small, there was no way I would have gotten away with it. And it was cool to look at. But at the same time, I told Anna after we left that church, I'm like, listen, babe, we don't go to church in America. All right, we don't go to church in the United States. This is a church within walking distance of where I am right now, where I'm sitting as I'm recording this. Since we don't go to church here, why would we drive 2 hours while we're out here in this foreign place, well, foreign to me, why would we drive 2 hours here to go to a church? I mean, the church is cool. It was nice. It's a fine experience. And I guess it's a big deal for people who live out here. But listen, I don't claim any particular religion, and I don't go to church even when I have free will to do so. I'm not driving 2 hours to go look at a church. I don't care what the church is. And it made me think of what I'm going to be talking about here today. And it's not necessarily on me. This is something that I was telling her. We had a conversation about it, and it wasn't contentious. I wasn't mad about it, but I was letting her know, like, look, of all the things that we could have spent our day doing, I wasn't thinking about going to take a look at a church. I don't care how historic the church is, unless it's maybe the Sistine Chapel or something like that. But they got to let me take pictures, because I got to take the pictures of the ceiling and all that stuff. But anyway, it's made me think of this, and since everything becomes material, I'm going to use this situation. And the topic again is you drive. And before I say any more about it, let me remind you, I got a text line where I want you to text me and tell me the most valuable insight you got from today's masterclass, or something that maybe it made you think about that maybe is your own situation in life, or a question, or anything else. And you're going to get my daily motivation text that I send to everyone on my text list. And these are completely free of charge. My number is 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. What the topic is about today, folks, is when you are making choices about how you're going to invest your resources, your time, money, attention, energy, and focus. Understand that while other people may have good ideas and positive intentions, you ultimately have to be the one manning the steering wheel for your life. Because if you let another person take that steering wheel, again, even though they may not be trying to sabotage you or put you in a bad spot, they may have ideas for what they want and are going to include you in that are not in your best interest. Again, because that's their best interest is their best interest. Your interest is your interest. And sometimes they may align. That's when you get partnerships and people working together and everyone doing the same, having a shared experience. But there are other times when they don't align, and that's all right. You are going this way and they're going to go the other way, and that's okay. And this is what I was explaining to Anna. Like, yeah, your friend may care a lot about the friend who had the idea for this trip, who drove us out here. They may really love going to see churches and things like that, but I didn't really give a damn. I didn't really give a damn about that. And I said to Anna, I don't think you do either, because you don't go to church when you could go to church anytime in the United States. So I know you didn't fly halfway across the world to go look at a church. And that was my whole point. And that led to what I'm going to share with you here today in this episode. So without further ado, let's get into our points. The topic, once again, is you drive the car. Point number 1. Trust your instincts and intuition more than you trust the instincts and intuition of other people. Now, again, there are times in life when you are partnered with another person or working with someone else, or you are subordinate to someone else's leadership, and you should trust their instincts and intuition, because they're the person who you've chosen to hitch your wagon to what this person has going on. But when it comes to what you're going to do, your resources, time, money, attention, energy, focus, which we talked about in episode 609, you must trust your own more than that of others, because it is not necessarily because you're the smartest or the best, and not because other people are bad, ill-intentioned, or dumb, but because no one else knows what's best for you better than you do. Simple as that. If you decide to roll with someone else that you do trust, make sure that they are following their own plan and not the plan of a third party, because this can just trickle down, right? Let's say I'm following your plan, but your plan is not actually yours. You're following this other person's plan, and their plan is not theirs. They're following this other person's plan. So all of us are actually following someone else, and we don't even know. We each think we're following somebody else, but each of us is following another person, till we realize that this whole thing is like the telephone game. Nobody actually knows what's going on, and nothing gets done. At least not anything that we want to get done is actually happening. So if you're going to follow another person, make sure that they are following their instincts and intuition and that you trust theirs. If you don't trust their instincts and intuition, don't follow them. And if someone else doesn't trust your instincts and intuition, they shouldn't be following you. All right, so when it comes to following another person or going along with another person, this is not necessarily a wrong thing to do, but make sure that they are staying true to themselves if you're going to get behind them, because you might trust them, but if they're not trusting themselves in the moment that they're leading you, maybe they're leading you on a path that is somebody else's. You don't even know that other person, and both of you going to end up somewhere that you don't want to be because neither of you was following this rule that I'm giving you right here. If you decide to roll with someone else, make sure they're following themselves, because in that case, if they're not, then both of you are passengers in a third person's car and don't know what's going on. Like I ended up in this particular situation, like I was telling you, when we showed up at this church. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is you drive the car. Number 2, the only time you want to be in the back seat, metaphorically speaking, of someone else's car is if you have a chauffeur or an Uber. All right, and I mean this in a literal sense and a metaphorical sense at the same time. For me, I mean it literally. I like control. Personally, I just like control. And any of you who is in, especially those of you who are entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial minded, you like control as well. It's one of the main things that drives us into entrepreneurship. I personally like having a say in everything that I'm involved in. I like deciding my own fate. Even if that means me deciding my own fate, even if that means that I fuck up, even if it means that I miss, I lose, or I fail, or I make a mistake, I'd rather fail driving my own vehicle than fail as a passenger in your vehicle. If I'm gonna get into a car accident, I'd rather get into an accident as the driver than get into an accident as the passenger. Now again, I mean that both literally and metaphorically. What most annoyed me about this situation that I told you at the top of this episode, where we drove 2 hours and the crown jewel of this trip was to go look at this historic, I suppose, this historic church out there in Georgia, was not the fact that it happened. It was that it was somebody else's idea. Right? It wasn't Anna's idea. I would have trusted her intuition, her instincts. If she said, this is absolutely the place we need to go, Dre, let's go, I would have said fine. But she was following her friend's idea. Her friend was saying we need to go to this place, and I guess her friend sold Anna on how great it was, because again, her friend didn't speak English, so she wasn't telling me. She sold Anna on this idea. Anna bought into it, and then she got me involved in it, and then we end up at this place, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I know it wasn't Anna's idea, and that's the part that most annoyed me. I'm like, I know this wasn't your idea, so how did we end up here? Is that I was a passenger to somebody else who was being a passenger, and we were both passengers literally in this other woman's car, and we end up at this place that I wasn't even excited to be at. All right, so if your own idea personally is a weak idea, or at least it turns out to be a weak idea, and once you execute on it, you can laugh at that and say, okay, I had a bad idea. If you trust another person and they end up with a bad idea, you can laugh at that as well, because you trust them, and you know that no human is perfect, no human is infallible. Every now and then we're all going to make mistakes, or we're going to try something that just doesn't work. Now, when somebody else's idea is no good, a third party that is not you or a person that you trust so much, they have a bad idea and it costs you some of your time, money, attention, energy, and focus, that's when you should probably be checking yourself. And you could probably be annoyed by that because somewhere somebody made a mistake in judgment. I've had more bad ideas. Now I'm talking about myself now. I've had more bad ideas than most people, than everyone who's listening to this right now. And I'm all right with every bad idea I've ever had. Why? Because it was my idea, I executed on it, and if it didn't work, I'm the one who had to deal with it and suffer the consequences and make the cutoffs and count my losses for those bad ideas. Now, your bad ideas, all right, you leave me out of your bad ideas. Right? If you have a bad idea, you're the one who should be suffering. Nobody else should be suffering from your bad idea. And if someone else does, it's because they completely trust you and your instincts, and they know that, okay, you had a bad idea this time, but you're probably not going to have a bad one every single time, so I'm still going to deal with you. That's all right. Like I said, if Anna had a bad idea, let's go to this place, and it ends up no good, I would have said, cool. And the whole time that we were in Tbilisi, I was with her every single place that I went. Because again, I don't speak the language, and I wasn't just wandering around the town by myself in a place that I don't even speak the language. Probably wouldn't have been able to be too productive or get much done on my own. But at the same time, any idea that she had, I was good with, because I trust that she has good instincts. But this other person, I didn't know this person that well, so I couldn't trust their instincts, and I don't know them like that. Not that they're a bad person, not that I think they had ill intentions, but I don't know them like that. If I'm gonna trust somebody's instincts, I want to have a pretty good idea who they are as a person. And I didn't know this person, so I trusted that Anna, knowing this person, would have trusted their instincts, but I think it was a mistaken judgment on her part. Again, I wasn't angry about it, but it was kind of annoying because of the time investment that it cost us in the process. So if you're going to be a passenger in somebody else's situation, you either better be riding in an Uber or you have a chauffeur. Other than that, get in the front seat and drive the car, even if you end up crashing. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is you drive your car. Number 3, until you develop this level of self-trust, as I talk about in my newest book, The Third Day. If you haven't gotten your copy of that book yet, go get it at thirddaybook.com. The book's free, just cover the shipping. Until you develop the level of self-trust where you are willing to take the L as the driver, and you would rather take an L as a driver than whatever may happen as a passenger, until you get to that level, you will forever underdeliver on your own potential and your own opportunities based on one simple principle. You are following a plan that's not yours. The only way, ladies and gentlemen, that you can perform to your potential and maximize the ROI on your opportunities in life is when you are following your own plan. Now, you can't perform up to your own potential following somebody else's plan. At some point, even if you're working with other people, even if you're in somebody else's organization, you had to decide what's best for you and what's going to work best for you, and you must execute on that. Again, even if it involves other people, it still has to be a plan that comes from you. It has to be your idea. If it's somebody else's idea, you could do great executing somebody else's idea, but you'll never be your best executing somebody else's idea. You follow what I'm saying here? You must be following a plan that's yours at some point. And there's nothing wrong with following somebody else's plans at different times in life, because that might be what you need to do in that moment to get to where you need to get to. But at some point, to maximize your potential and your opportunities and get the most ROI from your possibilities in life, you had to be following a plan that came from you. You can never fully maximize yourself while playing someone else's game. The game is, here's what the actual game is. Your game is to trust yourself and adjust yourself as you accumulate experience, and you become the person who other people want to follow and trust. Then, once you get to that level, then you can teach those people to do the same thing that you taught yourself to do. Now, let me be clear. You can apprentice under somebody else. You can learn from other people. You can get the game from people. You can get knowledge and information and skill and experiences and save yourself time by learning from other people. You can do that. You could be 80 years old still learning from other people. But at the same time, you want to take the pieces that you grab from other people and you're going to make that into yours. You take it from them and it becomes yours. Until you are following your own plan, you will never be able to maximize your potential. It's impossible. It's against the laws of physics to maximize your potential while following somebody else's plan. It has to be yours. All that said, let's recap today's class, which is you drive. I told you the story of how we are driving 2 hours to go out to some place that a friend of Anna's told us would be a great place to go. We get there, it ends up being a church, and it's cool. Shout out to all the churches out there, but I was not so excited to be driving that far to go to a church. Listen, I live here in the United States and I don't go to church, so I was not trying to travel across the world to go drive 2 hours to go look at a church, even though it was a beautiful church. And that led to what we're talking about here today, because everything is material here at Work on Your Game. Number one, trust your instincts and intuition more than you trust the instincts and intuitions of other people. Not because you're necessarily the smartest person in the world or the best person in the world, and not because other people are bad or they're dumb or they have bad intentions. It's because the only person who knows what's best for you is you. And if you do decide to roll with somebody else, make sure you are following someone who is trusting themselves, so that it's you trusting someone who trusts themselves and not them following somebody else too. So now you're the third or fourth party, and you might not even know what's going on with the person who's actually trusting their instincts, and you end up the passenger in the car going somewhere that you don't even want to be. Point number two, only time you want to be in the back seat of a car, metaphorically or literally speaking, is when you have a chauffeur or an Uber. I like control. I like having a say. I like deciding my own fate. If that is you as well, that means you're all right with fucking up, missing, losing, or failing as long as you're the one in the driver's seat. Now, I don't want to fuck up, miss, lose, or fail in the passenger seat because that meant I wasn't even in control when I lost. I'd rather be in control and lose than not be in control and be subject to whatever happens with another person's decision-making process. If your own idea is bad or the person you trust's idea is bad, you and that person can laugh about it. But if both of you are trusting someone that you don't even know who the hell they are or exactly if they're worthy of being trusted, then you might be a little bit annoyed because now you invested your time, money, attention, energy, focus into something and you didn't even know what program you were being led by at that point. So I'm all right with my own bad ideas, but I do not want to be involved in your bad ideas. Point number 3, until you develop this self-trust, as I talk about in my new book, The Third Day, which if you haven't gotten it yet, the link is down below. The book is free. All you do is cover shipping. You will forever undeliver on your own potential and opportunities based on the simple principle that you are following a plan that is not yours. You can never fully maximize yourself while playing someone else's game. The game is to trust yourself and adjust as you accumulate experience and you become the one that other people will follow and trust, and then you can teach them to do the exact thing that you taught yourself to do. Send me a text. Tell me the most valuable insight you got from today's masterclass. My number is 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre all day.